Welcome to today's daily dose of sales inception. I'm Drew Norton, the Everyday Sales Leader. And today I just wanted to share a couple case studies and examples of how this idea of sales inception has worked out in real life for clients or customers of my own that I've worked with. So for those that might be new to this, sales inception is an idea that we can really guide people to self-discovery, and that we can help lead somebody in sales to make a decision that's best for themselves without twisting arms, using tactics, being unethical. And so I want to share a story of a client. One of the things I've done over the years was sell solar. And I remember meeting with this client, and there's a couple different ways you can purchase solar. Most common is some type of lease or PPA where the solar company owns the system and sells you the electricity. The other option is you make a purchase, typically cash or with a loan. Most of the time it's a loan, as that's more affordable for most people to make payments than to pay a solar system in full. So I remember she was interested in both and wanted to hear both options. And as we were going through and talking about the pros and cons of each, there were things she didn't like about either one. And I could just tell as we were going through those options for her. Initially, it was looking to save money, and there wasn't going to be this huge savings in her case. Maybe a little bit, maybe a few bucks a month, it would save her. And I could just tell it wasn't going the right way, but she also wasn't like saying no and pushing me out the door. So I simply just said to her, hey, I'm curious. Why haven't you just told me no and just said this isn't for you? And I just shut up. And she stopped, and there was silence for a few seconds. It felt like a long time, but a lot of times that silence is only a few seconds. And she said, what I'm really interested in is this tax credit with the solar. I moved here from Puerto Rico. I wiped out my savings to get into this home and into this house. I want to move back to Puerto Rico. I can sell my house, and I also want to have some money set aside so I'm able to do that. And I see this tax credit as a possible way for that to work. What can you tell me more about that? And what was really cool is that opened up everything for her to move forward, to be excited, and to go ahead and make a solar purchase. And so, long story short, I won't get into the details of how the tax credits worked. She was going to it was a large system. Her home used a lot of electricity, probably about $15,000 in tax credits she would be eligible for. And she also wasn't going to be able to take advantage of that all in 1 year. It would probably come over the course of 3 or 4 years. And so for her, when she saw, hey, I could probably get back $5,000 on my taxes over the next 2-3 years in the form of a tax refund because of this credit, all of a sudden she had all the motivation in the world to move forward. And she bought, and she's like, I don't know how you sold me this. You're really good, and thank you. And since then, I've kept in touch with her. It was a few years ago, and she's since sold her home, and she moved back to Puerto Rico, and it went just how she wanted it to go. And so what I loved experiencing that situation with her is there was never a moment where I twisted her arm or I forced her to do it. And I think sometimes a salesperson would be scared to ask, well, hey, why haven't you just told me no? Or why are we still even having a conversation at this point if something isn't making sense to you? And then she told me why she wanted to buy and what she wanted it for and how she wanted to make it work. And then we were able to then it went from a conversation about saving on her electric bill to saving thousands on her taxes and creating a way for her to move back home and be closer to family and get back to Puerto Rico. I could have never come up with a solution like that for her if I hadn't asked questions, if I hadn't helped her discover. And I say this a lot. I think sometimes we think in sales, discovery is for us. Honestly, this discovery is often for them. It's helping them realize how our product, how our solution, how our service can help them get the things they want. And so I really loved that, just because she was excited. It meant a lot to her, and it was just great for both of us. Another conversation I can remember with a couple once, in a sales. I'm not going to share all the details, but I was meeting with this couple, and it kind of got to that point where I was asking them to move forward. And sometimes, and if you're experienced, you'll see this happen, where often when you're sitting with a husband and a wife, there tends to be one that's usually more for it, and it seems like there's always one that's more against it. And so one of the, I believe the wife, she was kind of like, well, maybe we ought to wait. I'm not sure if we want to do this. And so once again, I think a lot of times what would be easy to do is get into objection handling mode and tell them all the reasons why it'd be a bad idea to wait, and why they ought to move forward, and what the advantages of moving forward today. And I'm not saying you don't go down that path at all. And what changed the game for me that day is I said, well, what happens if you guys don't do this? Husband started talking. He started sharing what his thoughts, all the negative things he thought were going to happen if they didn't move forward and didn't make a decision. Next thing I know, we were filling out an application together and getting them signed up. And so I've shared this before. I really believe that people want to buy. They don't want to be sold. I love to buy things. I love when I can walk in a door somewhere and a salesperson makes it easy for me to buy what I want. I don't love walking in somewhere and having somebody use tactics, try and twist my arm, try to get me to do something I don't want to do. And so I've just seen over and over and over again, when we can help guide people through our language, through our tone, through our empathy, through our questions, to discover things for themselves, to really come up with the idea themselves. Like, there's just so much more power that happens in that. And going back to that lady that when I was in solar, that I sold the solar system to, even if I'd come up with that idea, even if she told me more in the conversation earlier about how she wanted to get back to Puerto Rico and that was important for her, even if I had come up with that first, I don't think she would have done it. But the fact that she told me, well, this is what I would like to do because I think it will help me do this. And I think what she really wanted me to do at the end of the day wasn't sell her a system. It was, once she realized that could help her get what she wanted me just to verify that for her. And that's what I was able to do. And so too many times, I think early in my sales career, I thought it was about closing somebody, about getting someone to make a decision. And listen, there are people out there that, if you strong arm them, they will move forward and they will do it. A lot of times those people, when things go wrong, they aren't happy. It leads to higher cancellations. And so when you can help someone discover and get the idea themselves that, hey, this is for me, it just changes everything. And so I just wanted to share those two quick stories today. If you have a story or you have an example of how you helped someone discover how your product or service was for them, invite you go into the comments on YouTube and share that with us. Once again, I'm Drew Norton, the Everyday Sales Leader, and this is your daily dose of Sales Inception.